I'm Perfect Balance, and in this video I'll be teaching you when to hold Riddle of Fire, how to hold Riddle of Fire, and why to hold Riddle of Fire. If you stumbled across any of the other monk guides I've made, or even just dipped your toes in the waters of monk, you've probably heard the general advice of keep Riddle of Fire on cooldown. While this advice still holds true in a majority of situations, there are some situations in which we can optimize an encounter by employing a planned Riddle of Fire hold. I want to preface this topic by telling you that all of what I'm about to say is flexible and will generally require a bit of planning and fight mapping on your part to ensure that this tech works optimally for your exact situation. This isn't something that you can typically just cut out and paste into your rotation in the exact same way as someone else, as it will vary based on things like kill time, party composition, buff timings, and oppo state. This can mean doing things like clipping a demolish, holding Riddle of Fire more or less than someone else, or doing the hold at a different point in time. With that being said, let's look at why you might choose to hold Riddle of Fire. Let's start out with a quick visual explanation of why you might want to hold on to Riddle of Fire in a given scenario. In this example, we have a 2-minute long encounter. If we play this as standard, we end up doing our opener, putting Riddle of Fire on cooldown, and doing one blitz at the odd burst window. Unfortunately for us, in doing this we have a spare use of Perfect Balance that we're not able to fit into any buffs, so either we lose the use entirely, or we have to use it outside of Riddle of Fire. However, given that this phase is only 2 minutes long, we can afford to hold onto our Riddle of Fire without losing a use, and without desyncing ourselves from the group's raid buffs. Thanks to this, we're now able to fit both available blitzes into the Riddle of Fire window. In short, holding Riddle of Fire can allow us to ensure that we are able to use the maximum amount of Perfect Balance charges and blitzes available to us in an encounter within our burst windows. Now that we understand why executing a Riddle of Fire hold may be beneficial, we'll look at what one actually looks like in practice and how it impacts the rotation. As mentioned, a Riddle of Fire hold involves holding an odd Riddle of Fire for an additional 10 to 20 seconds in order to ensure that we have access to 2 charges of Perfect Balance. From here, there are 2 potential sequences to this burst window. The most common and most preferable is the double Luna window. This window is very similar to the Snap 1 even window from Optimal Drift, in that we set up the Phantom Rush Luna sequence early relative to where we will use Riddle of Fire to try and accommodate the demolish timer. This is in part where the flexibility of the tech comes in. Depending on your specific situation, you may find yourself able to set this up off a natural demolish, you may want to clip a demolish early, or you may even set this up off a Snap 1 window and allow demolish to drop briefly. However you end up doing it, once you've executed your Phantom Rush, you continue your combo as normal to refresh demolish, and use this demolish refresh to set up the next elixir field. The other sequence available is effectively a copy of the double solar even window, a lunar solar burst where you force your Coel GCD to be a demolish and Phantom Rush into a rising phoenix. Keep in mind that since this is putting an extra blitz into an odd window, it has the added effect of pushing your Phantom Rush back a window, pushing it into the even window. This allows us to put Phantom Rush into raid buffs in fights where a double solar opener wouldn't be optimal. As mentioned, the double Luna Perfect Balance sequence is generally preferred for double blitz windows. This is because at the conclusion of this window we are left with 1 Luna Nadi. This means that our next even window is going to have to be a solar Luna sequence to ensure we fit Phantom Rush into the even window. This is preferable as 6 out of 9 potential even windows in Optimal Drift are solar Luna sequences already, with only the demolish entry needing to be modified in order to work. This is in contrast to doing an odd window Luna solar sequence, which leaves us with 1 solar Nadi remaining instead, forcing every subsequent even window to be a double Luna burst. This can be problematic as double Luna windows are generally less flexible and harder to make work, so it's typically easier to do a single double Luna odd window and then be able to spend the rest of the fight doing solar Luna evens than it would be to do 1 odd Luna solar window and have to spend the rest of the fight trying to make constant even double Lunas work. There is an option to get around this by doing Luna solar evens instead, but generally speaking, building a Phantom Rush off GCDs that aren't oppos ends up not being worth it. That isn't to say you would never do a lunar solar double blitz sequence, merely that you should be aware of the impact it will have on the rest of your rotation when planning out your bursts. Following your initial Riddle of Fire hold, you will need to hold the next even Riddle of Fire a similar duration to ensure both perfect balance charges are available once again. This requires your team to hold their burst with you, which of course would involve some additional rotational planning on their end. As a result of this, Riddle of Fire holds are typically relegated to organised play. There are a number of different scenarios that a Riddle of Fire hold can benefit. Firstly, a full uptime fight at specific kill times. Assuming an encounter lasts for a duration in which the 20 to 40 second hold does not cause you to lose any buff usages, a Riddle of Fire hold is free damage. For example, if a fight ends at 8 minutes, you effectively have 40 seconds of wiggle room with which you can hold Riddle of Fire and not lose any buff time. Generally speaking, the sooner into a fight that you can do the hold, the better, as double blitzing on the first odd window of a fight means you will be able to phantom rush in every subsequent even window. That being said, there are some jobs who despise holding and don't want to do it under any circumstances. In this case, it's fine to just hold the final odd window of a fight to ensure the final blitz is buffed. Without getting into the weeds of FF logs and its ranking systems, this won't have a negative effect on your shiny pass number, though you will be doing less damage than if you'd been able to hold sooner. It's important to keep in mind your party composition when planning out Riddle of Fire holds, as if the group would lose more damage than you would gain by executing a hold, then you're going to want to instead try and find a compromise that ensures the best results for everyone involved. Secondly, there are recommended holds due to downtime. There are certain encounters where chunks of downtime are so long that you end up overcapping on perfect balance charges if you don't execute a hold. Proto-Carbuncle Savage is an excellent example of this. The boss goes untargetable at 4 minutes 15 seconds and becomes targetable again at 4 minutes 26 seconds. Because of these timings, the majority of players elect simply to sit on their buffs until the boss is back to do a reopener. Unfortunately for monks, we have to sit on capped perfect balance charges for almost 30 seconds doing this, leading to what is effectively a guaranteed lost usage of perfect balance. There are a few ways to optimize around this, but as this is a Riddle of Fire hold video and not a P5S video, we'll strictly be discussing the hold and how it can be applied to other similar circumstances. Again, assuming a kill time where holding doesn't lead to a lost use of Riddle of Fire or Brotherhood, we can hold our first odd window. In P5S specifically, this has the added benefit of moving the subsequent even window off the double rush mechanic, meaning no more interrupted burst windows. Depending on for exactly how long and when you hold, subsequent burst windows from here on will be at X minutes and 30 or 40 seconds throughout the rest of the fight, which lines up nicely following Proto-Carbuncle becoming targetable at 4:26. Thirdly, there are forced holds due to downtime. Forced holds are when the downtime in an encounter is so long that not only would you lose charges of perfect balance by not doing a double blitz, but the fight also naturally realigns your cooldowns for the following burst window, meaning you don't have to convince the group to hold to realign with you, the fight will force them to. A good example of this is in Dragon Song's Reprise. Thordan is targetable from 103 to 140, meaning we have enough time to fit in a single odd window. He does not become retargetable until 231, almost a full minute later. If we were to do a normal odd Riddle of Fire on cooldown here, we would get a single buffed blitz and then end up sitting on capped perfect balance charges during the downtime. If we instead hold Riddle of Fire for 10 seconds, we can do a double Lunar Blitz instead, and by the time the boss is targetable again, everyone's cooldowns are back for a reopener. As you can see, there are a myriad of different ways that Riddle of Fire can be strategically and beneficially held, but each situation is unique and requires prior planning and forethought to ensure you aren't shooting yourself or your party members in the feet in your implementation of holds. Hopefully this video has opened your eyes to the almost limitless potential of Monk and gets you thinking about new and different ways you can play around common roadblocks in the future in order to maximize your damage going forwards. Smash that like button and hit the subscribe and ding the bell and stuff. I actually started working on this video over a year ago now and then kind of stopped for 9 months and came back to it with a really bad cold, which is why I probably sound really different in different parts of the video. The expansion's almost over now, so this is probably going to be irrelevant pretty quickly, but who knows, maybe this is still applicable in Dawn Trail. But yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, ding the bell.